I'm finding a lot of, I guess, dissatisfaction or cynicism from the Iraq and Afghanistan vets that I'm seeing. A few come and go, yes, we're right there, we're supposed to be doing that. And others are going, I don't know why we're doing it. And why am I still sitting here? And I survived it. And then maybe some guy that I know is still stuck there and going back time after time, which, you can only stand so much war psychologically. Somewhere that has to eat up a person's soul. And so I was wondering what you thought about soul wounds, emotional wounds.
Well, I think that's very important. One of my friends at the VA, Larry Dewey, wrote a book called, not Trauma and Recovery, that's Judith Herman, War and Redemption.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful book.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry that it's so expensive, most people can't afford it. And you can't get it on Amazon because it's so popular, nobody ever gives up a copy. But it talks about how he learned. He got into the VA during the Vietnam War right afterward, and he was working primarily with World War II veterans coming in for the first time. And he saw that as they were retiring, they had too much time to think.
Right.
And so they start thinking about things they don't want to. So he observed this early on. I'm not sure a lot of other people did. It's the exact same phenomenon we're seeing now with our Vietnam veterans.
Right.
And the Vietnam veterans, actually, the rate of suicide has doubled since the Iraq War broke out among veterans. And the highest rate, at least initially, was in the 45 to, or 50 to 60, I think it was, age group. And that's the cohort of Vietnam veterans. When they saw this obvious setup to war, they fell into despair and started committing suicide in droves. Many of them were still alcoholics. Many of them had never come in for services. Many of them, their PTSD symptoms got worse from watching all this on TV, the shock and awe and all this wonderful pageantry of watching the beautiful bombs blow up on Baghdad on CNN in prime time. I mean, this was all orchestrated. Anyway, they see all this and they say, my God, we've done it again. American people have become so ignorant and brainwashed that they fell for it again. And this is what happened in Vietnam after the Gulf of Tonkin incident, which we now know was also manufactured, or at least exaggerated. And people say we shouldn't even have been in those waters. We were trying to provoke that. Be that as it may, the social effects are nonetheless obvious. Putnam, as I said, documents how we've fallen apart. We don't get together anymore. Now, this is all very depressing. The bright side is I think that people are starting to wake up and realize that we have to work together to solve the nation's problems. And I'm seeing more and more people reaching across these gaps. We're not seeing the Democrats reach out to, maybe they're trying, but the Republicans are not reciprocating and reaching out to Democrats to solve these problems. It's not about Democrat and Republican, it's about the leadership trying to maintain their power. I have lots of friends who are Republicans and Democrats, independents, and even Green Party members, which is a smaller party here in Oregon. But they're starting to talk to each other and saying, what went wrong? How do we fix this? And I think one of the key answers to that question is to realize the significance of something called corporate personhood. Everybody knows, I think, that our senators depend on tremendous amounts of money, which they get primarily from PACs, political action committees, that corporations contribute to. And this is how they get by influence with our senators. Even the ones that want to do the right thing feel they have no choice. So they take this money, they think they're working for the people, but in fact, if they don't give consideration to this corporate interest, then they can't get reelected, and they feel like they can't do anything if they don't get reelected. So this process has evolved to the point where they literally are not working for us but the corporations.
I have a bumper sticker I want to make.
What's that?
I want to make a bumper sticker, maybe go nationwide on our show now. Do what's right for us, I'll vote for you.
Exactly. And
I thought, I bet you I could make a lot of money on that bumper sticker.
There was a wonderful article in the Register Guard just 2 days ago by A. Robert Smith, who I've subsequently contacted and I'm in communication with. He pointed out that the Republican Party in the 50s and 60s, it was mavericks in those parties that actually led opposition to some of these populist movements towards war and other things that are not good for the American people. It was Wayne Morse, our own Wayne Morse from Oregon, who was, I believe, the only or one of two senators who opposed going to war after the Gulf of Tonkin incident.
He was.
And then he was punished by not being reelected because the people had become convinced that, it's time to go to war again, 20 years, time to go to war. It doesn't have to be that way. This isn't ancient Sparta. We aspire to be more like Athens, except without the slavery.
Mm-hmm. I just had a veteran recently who he was actually watching something that they were blowing up over in Afghanistan. They were showing something, and he became quite anguished. That actually was sort of like popped the cork, And his anguish was, when I was in war, he said, quote, all I did was load the bombs. I loaded the bombs. And then all of a sudden it dawned on me, my fingerprints were on all those bombs. And just as if I dropped it out of the whatever, I made those people die. And he cannot forgive himself that his fingerprints are on the bombs. It's like, which some people go, that's, big deal. Everybody moves stuff. But to him, his fingerprints meant that he did that.
Right. And a lot of people don't understand how naval veterans can get PTSD unless they were on
this was a naval veteran.
Unless they were on the Forrestal where they had a massive explosion and a bomb blew up on deck.
Yeah.
It was horrible. But anyway, yes, that's very common in naval veterans who, some of them, they don't even have that job. They're just standing there watching phosphorus bombs blow up civilian villages off the coast, and going, oh my God, how can what have I gotten myself into? I mean, we're talking volunteers who thought we were doing the right thing, watching civilians be massacred in horrible ways. We saw the pictures in Life magazine of what happens to children when napalm contacts the skin. It's horrifying, and it probably was the main reason that the war ended when it did, because it still wasn't politically convenient. Or maybe that's not true. I mean, at that point, Nixon was reelected, and probably that was his last term, so maybe he would have ended the war anyway. His main advisor was Kissinger, who was totally cynic, still is, total cynic. Not one of my favorite people.
But the psychic wound.
The psychic, thank you for bringing me back to the main point. Yes, War and Redemption was all about how he learned to heal people, and what he did was look at their spirituality. And because there are no atheists in foxholes, maybe they come back cynical about their opinion about God and spirituality, but it's a powerful tool for getting at what's really important to people. And when your soul has been seared by violating the first commandment, whether you're religious or not, it's drilled into us as children, thou shalt not kill.
Right.
So when you're forced or make the choice to go and kill people, regardless of what you feel about the war, it's incredibly traumatizing. And like you said, they feel incredibly guilty and they can't let go of the guilt. You can try reason. You can tell them you were protecting your buddies even if you weren't doing it for yourself. In World War II, there's a 45 or 50% non-fire rate. These were men in combat who wouldn't pull the trigger. They wouldn't cross the line. And now they train them differently, so they get more like a 95% willingness to kill. But the effect of that is horrifying on the soul. And what he discovered was by getting them to look at their spirituality, they could find a way to forgive themselves. Because really the great religions, I think they all try to find a way. There's Yom Kippur in Judaism. There's the whole idea of confession in Catholicism, and just forgiveness in general in Christianity. And in Islam, Muhammad taught that sometimes you have to fight to defend yourself, but that's the only good reason.